We are delighted to welcome in Craig Counsell. He, of course, the manager of the Chicago Cubs, and he joins us now on the Score hotline, the Circa Sports Illinois hotline. Download that Circa Sports app today. Craig, good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Good morning, guys.
Well, we are delighted to talk to you because we've been filled with different questions and very much interested in the progress both of the team and of you. I mean, this is a new experience for you, not being in spring training. We know you grew up around the game and you know all the secrets and have all the hints of how to do it, but it's your first time with this group. Is there any kind of nervous energy involved in that? Is it more about just getting things organized, and how do you feel things are going thus far?
Yeah, I think we've passed that point of the nervous energy, and we're into like the heart of spring training and kind of executing our plan. But at the start, yeah, for sure. But it made it fun, really. That's energizing. It kind of puts you on point and gets you locked in, and I enjoyed that part of it. And you face that kind of every day, even trying to do it right every day for the group. So it's still there, but we're certainly in the meat of spring training, and getting the team ready is there's just getting the team ready. That's what we're trying to do.
So I really appreciated, Craig, the fact that you said results don't matter about spring training. And so we try to remind ourselves every day about those things because you see some guys struggle or maybe some guys are behind, whatever the case may be. Oh, that's fine, and we accept that. But from a manager's perspective then, what does matter to you? What kinds of things are you looking for in specific players or from a team collectively if the results aren't the thing you're going to get caught up on?
Yeah, well, we're certainly looking, for me, it's a new look at a lot of players. So that's important, and it's a new lens. And so, we have a bunch of young players that at some point we're going to need contributions from. So just trying to get a handle on what do we have here, what's our best way to get them to a place where they can help the Chicago Cubs in 2024. I think that's a really important part of what we're doing right now. The roster decisions, there's not as many roster decisions sometimes going into camp as you think. You're deciding on, 18 or to 20 of the spots are kind of locked in, and we're really deciding on 4 or 5 spots. And then the other thing we're trying to do is just spend time together. And as camp, really that for me becomes more important kind of the last couple weeks of camp as the group gets smaller. We're still at 65 players in camp. And as we get smaller, then I think, the team kind of starts to emerge. And it's at the time we spend together as a group is important.
There may not be a lot of decisions to make. You probably have a pretty good feel about who's going to be on the team. But, man, you've got so many guys capable of giving you contributions. Every time we turn around, there's another young player doing something, whether it's a guy like Owen Casey doing something. We played a highlight of Matt Shaw earlier in the program. The pitching staff, so many good young pitchers. I'm sure you're filing everything away and your understanding of your own timeline with different players.
You're right, and I think the more the better. I think in a major league season, what I've experienced is that there's never too much, and the depth is going to be tested, and injuries will happen, like underperformance will happen, and having places to go as a team is how you set a really good floor for your team, and then it's also how you get surprised. The biggest surprises are going to come from your young players. So you're right. It's kind of as you watch him in the spring. I think you describe it accurately as it's a filing away process. There's still development left for a player like Owen Casey, but he's shown things to you that make you understand that he could impact the Cubs this year.
So, Craig, we know you're an old scorehead, so you can appreciate or at least respect the calls that we'll get on a regular basis. Why is he still batting Ian Happ third if you are? Why did he keep that guy in there as long as he did? and the lineup construction gets daily scrutiny. We'll probably provide our own. You said the other day, it's something that I think is interesting that we'll hope that you can expand upon, that we make too much of the lineups. Maybe it's a batting order or the positional decisions a manager makes. What did you mean by that, and what led you to that conclusion?
I think it's important who's in the lineup, really important who's in the lineup. The order of it, we can't create sequences of offense. That's the players have the best thing we can do is just go have great at bats as players, and that's what creates offense. But like figuring out who's going to do what in a sequence, we don't know that. And so just getting your best hitters at bats and getting your best hitters the most at bats is the one thing that the lineup really dictates. And the rest is just hitters. Our hitters got to go up and have good at bats sequentially, and that's what produces offense.
Craig, I'm curious. Obviously, you know a lot about the Brewers. When the time comes and you're playing the Brewers, you would seemingly have a lot of information to share with the team. Do you believe that your job as manager will be easier because you're staying in the division? You must have a ton of information about every team, including the one you're now managing. But will that be sort of a hidden advantage once things get rolling?
I don't. It's made the transition easier in the fact that I've competed against a lot of these players for a long time. So there is a sense that you know them a little bit because you've competed against them so much. But the game is having an advantage. I don't think so. The game, we don't play 20 games against our teams in our division anymore, so that kind of advantage I think has gone away a little bit. But it's made it easier coming in the door. I mean, Kyle Hendricks, I feel like I know him. Ian Happ, you just played against him so much that you do feel like you got a good handle on him.
So when you look at the impact a manager can make, there are all kinds of metrics that measure that kind of thing. And certainly when you come to the Cubs at the beginning of this offseason, you raise expectations. Is there a misconception in your mind about the impact a good manager can make on a baseball team? And if so, what is that, and what do you think that impact is?
Yeah, I don't know about the misconception. It's just, my job is to, as much as I can, is put players in positions to succeed. That's kind of the strategic part of it. And then, it's really culturally provide a place where each player can be the best version of themselves. And that's simple and sounds cliche, but it's what you do. And sometimes if you just keep things simple, you don't get off point and you don't get off what's important. And those are the things that are important. And I don't call plays, right? It's, managers aren't in football or calling a play. We're not calling plays. We're as much as anything, there's strategic, kind of big picture stuff that we're in terms of bullpen usage and things like that, and we're trying to put players in positions to succeed, and that's where does their skill set really match up to situations, and that's an important part of it, and that kind of bleeds into strategy a little bit, but it's an important part.
Yeah, I think one part of the fascination with what's going on now is that there are so many kind of positions that are under scrutiny. I don't know that you have resolved a lot of these positions. I heard you say on MLB Network Radio that, for instance, the third base position is not going to be solved in spring training. In other words, Christopher Morel, his defense, that is an ongoing thing that you will be sort of watching. So we look at that one, and that's fascinating to see. Michael Busch at first base, we don't know how to view that one. We don't know if Pete Crow Armstrong is best served with the major league team as a defensive specialist, if you believe he should get more at bats. And are you choosing between either him or first base, given Bellinger's ability to play so many spots? How do those things, how do those decisions go in your mind as you weigh the potential for the younger players contributing immediately?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important part of that whole like conversation is that you don't have whatever decision you make, you're not bound to it for 162 games, right?
Right.
And that's what's important about that's where depth matters. So it's really like let the players play, and whoever determines themselves as the guy that should be in there, plays, right? We're gonna have to make a decision like early on. Yeah, if you're talking about 3 guys for 2 positions, we're going to have to make a decision who's going to play first, no question about it. But it doesn't bind us to that the whole season. And, when you're talking about young players that don't have the track record that Cody Bellinger has, yeah, you're going to have to earn it, right? And so between Michael and Pete, there's definitely a decision to make there. I mean, I think we're committed to giving Michael at bats at first base. I know that, and that's going to happen. So, but after that, then there's he's going to have to earn kind of that next phase of that, right? So, and the good thing with this is that we have another place to go if it doesn't work out, right? And that's where the team, I think, I talk about a floor, and it may not be exciting, but it's important, and that's where the team has established itself.
So before we let you go, Craig, we heard coming in that you've had to change your opinion of Go Cubs Go. So have there been other adjustments to spring training you've had to make to adapt to the Cub culture?
No, that's a funny one. And when they asked that question, I was like, I've always really enjoyed the song, but you can't tell anybody that, right?
That's right.
So no, it's been fun here, man, and one of the best parts for me is that there's a lot of new coming for me, and the new is all really good, and it's really exciting, and it's different, and it's like bigger, and that part is really cool, and so I can't wait for all those experiences, man.
We'll let you go. We appreciate your time. Have you figured out Shota Imanaga in terms of whether he's going to be? We keep reading maybe he'd be a 5th starter because he's got to get used to sort of fitting into the rotation in the major leagues as opposed to Japan, and you might be able to, I mean, and again, I understand these are ongoing situations that may change by the end of the year, but have you thought that one through?
Well, I mean, Shota's in the rotation, absolutely. How often, I think you're asking how often is he going to pitch? Right. Yeah, I think what's smart for us to do, I think, is to like understand how he's pitched and start him in a way that accommodates that and transitions him to pitching in how Major League Baseball's starters are required to pitch. But we can also benefit our other starters by giving them more rest, and I think that's an important thing to note too. That it's the starters benefit from more rest, and when we talk about a 162 game season, I think we worry about today's game a ton, but you got to worry about August 20th game as well, and you got to worry about the last 6 weeks of the season and getting your starters in a good place for that last 6 weeks of the season as well. So, rest is always going to benefit the players, and so it's not just Shota. I think our other starters can benefit from as well, and we'll probably take advantage of that at points during the season.
Thanks a ton, Craig. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Craig.
You got it, guys. Take care.